Rangers did have more games to play this week, which they then had a game against Boston, which was one of the most lackluster games of the season. And then they had a game Saturday against Boston. When you realize it's the last Ranger game of the year, it did bring a tear to my eye. But they did have an outburst in the third period where Mika Zibabanejad had a pair of goals. Alexis Lafreniere had a goal, and it was a beauty, by the way. I don't know which one was better, that one or the Kravtsov goal, John?
I think I was at half-mast after the Lafreniere goal.
Yeah, the Kravtsov goal, it looks like that's going to be his signature.
I definitely went 6 to midnight there.
So, and also, Keith Kincaid had a great game, which I never wanted to see him wearing a Ranger jersey ever again, but then he did. And then he might have pulled a muscle. He had to leave the game. Igor Shesterkin comes in. So the Ranger season ends. They're 4 games over 500. This is the final year of David Quinn. Something I didn't think at the beginning of the year, but then, you start 2-7, you get calls for your job. And you get people to wonder, is this really a thing? And again, I've been yelled at by my stuff that says, it's in a rebuild. We're in a rebuild. The rebuild got expedited a little bit. The rebuild has actually nothing with the questions we've been asking. Like all year, John and I have been questioning the goaltending rotation, the line combinations, the style of play that they bring. So this isn't about a rebuild. It isn't about the GM and the talent. But so the question, John, goes, where do the Rangers go from here?
Well, I mean, there was obviously, like you put in the ticker, nothing to talk about in that first game against Boston. So, I mean, I really don't even want to spend too much time on it other than summarizing it as a desperate team beating crap out of a not-so-desperate team that was decimated. So moving on from that game, we'll go to the last game of the season. And the last game of the season, it is a microcosm of a glimmer of hope for the future. And you have, Mika Zibabanejad obviously doing his thing with 2 pretty nice goals. Passing play on that wrist shot was just, unreal. I mean, if we talk about the New York Rangers looking to pass the puck into the back of the net. I mean, that's pretty much what they did there. It's just they gave Mika Zibabanejad such an open look that he could have literally hit water coming out of a boat and he still would have scored that goal. So, but yeah, it's a microcosm of things. I mean, like I said, Alexis Lafreniere with an absolute beautiful goal. I mean, towards the end of the season, he started doing things like that. And one thing that I pointed out to a friend, I don't know if you guys are familiar with what they call high danger passes.
Clarify for everybody, and also
okay.
I was about to get the wrong guess.
All right, so what high danger passes are passes that are made into high danger areas, like through the slot and so on, through cross seam passes and so on. Multiple players in the area, multiple sticks blocking passing lanes. Alexis Lafreniere converted on an extremely high percentage of those in his junior hockey days. And if you were watching him closely at the beginning of the season, he was trying to still do those passes, but they weren't getting through. As the season got on and he got his confidence, those passes started going through. And the rest of the league is not in a good position if he's going to be able to make those passes, because he is an insane passer. His passing skill is up there with some of the better players in the league. I know he doesn't have the numbers to prove it yet, but I'm telling you right now, if you see some of the passes that he makes, you're just sitting there like, how the hell did he get that through? I must have muttered those words quite a few times towards these last few parts of the seasons. And even he made plays earlier on in the year where he got those passes through and they just weren't finished. So it doesn't show up on a score sheet. But Alexis Lafreniere, he looks like everything is starting to come together. Vitaly Kravtsov looks the part. Kakko looked the part. But I'm telling you, when those goals start going in for Kakko, the floodgates are going to open, because there's just so much talent there and he's just waiting for his chance. I mean, Adam Fox, Norris candidate, Norris finalist, most likely. I mean,
Norris winner, in my opinion.
What's that?
Norris winner, in my opinion.
Norris winner, in my opinion, too. And the eye test and the advanced stats showed that he's had a better season than Victor Hedman. But name power always seems to win in these votes because I don't think voters get to watch enough of some of the other guys in question. So, Keandre Miller took strides. But again, it's a microcosm of the, and then obviously everything that happened with David Quinn. I don't know if you want me to go over that now or if we want to wait for a little bit for that. Or...
Well, let's just go with who is on your list of guys to take over David Quinn.
Gerard Gallant's my number one. I've been saying it for months. We all know that if you've been watching or you've been following me on any type of social media or if you know me personally, I've been saying Gerard Gallant. I think the job that he did with Barkov, Huberdeau, Trocheck, Marchessault, and Smith in Florida, and then Marchessault and Smith again in Vegas, and William Karlsson in Vegas. Remember, William Karlsson wasn't a legitimate top six forward. He wasn't even close to being a top six forward in Columbus. Then he goes to Vegas, scores 40 goals and 70 points in his first year there under Gallant, in Gallant's first season, and they go to the Stanley Cup Finals. I mean, Claude Julien wouldn't be a terrible hire. I know people are talking about Bruce Boudreau.
No.
I think I want him for maybe a power play as an assistant, but I wouldn't want him as a head coach. I don't like him as a head coach.
Marty Schottenheimer called and said Bruce Boudreau is the version of me in hockey.
Yeah.
So I completely started that metaphor the wrong way, but that is him. Bruce Boudreau he produces great teams in the regular season that don't perform in the playoffs.
Yep.
So maybe it would have been different in Anaheim in 2015 if he was there. And they could have finished off the Blackhawks in Game 7, but they didn't. So he's still Marty Schottenheimer. For me, it's Gallant. I don't see anybody else. Go get Gallant. You want to say Babcock? I mean...
I could see Babcock being on their list.
And you know what? Babcock should be. Why shouldn't he be? The guy's got still pick up a finals appearance with the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim. Not the Anaheim Ducks. They were a different team back then. And all those years with the Red Wings, well-respected coach from Canada. I know that there's baggage. He's basically doing NBC to clean up his image. But this is what this team needs. Like, they need a good hockey mind. And Babcock was great for many years. But it's Gallant. Go with Gallant. He might only be here for about 2 or 3 seasons because he wears out his welcome pretty quickly. But it's just Gallant. Anthony?
So I'll start with the coaching. I've been scrolling through Twitter since the firing of Quinn, and I've heard some of these names tied to the Rangers. Gallant, of course. Travis Green, who hasn't been let go by Vancouver yet, but I've heard Travis Green. I've heard Patrick Waugh. I've heard Rick Tocchet. And Bob Hartley is another name I heard earlier, just coming off of winning Avant-Garde Omsk. But with all those guys, I do think they shouldn't, try to reinvent the wheel here, get too cute. Because I also heard Knobloch getting an opportunity, but then now's not the time. They need to hire a legit NHL coach with experience. So I do think, I agree with you guys. I agree with Gerard Gallant. But I can see them taking a real look at Rick Tocchet. His name's been thrown out a bunch of times. He's fresh off leaving Arizona. Not a knock on him. I don't think there's anything wrong with him, but I think Gallant is the right choice here. So, they have an opportunity here to really make it right. Gallant's I think he's a proven winner. He's, like John said, he did amazing things with Vegas, and even after he got fired from Florida, I don't necessarily think what went wrong there was his fault. So, I think he's the right man for the job there. My only thing is, I'm sure you guys heard over the last year, but he's been tied to Seattle since he got fired. So I don't know if they have a leg up there or
nope. What'd you say? Not anymore. He got hired to be he got hired to be coach of Team Canada's World Junior team. So if there was something going on with Seattle, that wouldn't have happened. And as for Gallant his previous stops, I know I've talked to a lot of people that have concerns about him, and I understand their concern, and their major concern is the fact that in 3 different places, he got fired within 3 seasons or less. Columbus, he got maybe 120 games in with them, and they were really bad at the time. I mean, his best talents were Rick Nash, Nikolai Zherdev, and Derek Brassard. And his best defenders were like Yaroslav Spacek and Rostislav Klesla, with Pascal Leclerc and Marc Denis in net. So, I mean, you're not winning with that team. So he wasn't getting anything to win with. He was hired halfway through that season for his first year, so he only coached like 45 games. Then he had that 1 full year, and then in 06-07, he was fired 15 games into the season. And I think that's when, was it Todd Richards that took over after that? Or I don't remember.
I think so.
What the coaching carousel was in
And
they still haven't figured out their coaching. They just fired Tortorella. So, I mean, you know what? That's a problem. I don't look at that Columbus stint, and I don't care about it because there just wasn't enough for him to work with. And then in Florida, they bring him in. They go from a 29-win team in 2014, and then he comes in 2015. They win 38 games. The next year, they face the Islanders in the playoffs after winning 47 games, and they get ousted.
Which I still can't believe they didn't cover John Tavares.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's another story.
And by the way, how do you not call a tripping call where the guy's facing an empty net? And that also happened in Game 6. So first, never mind. All right, keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get too much into that. And then he gets fired, during the next season in 2016, 2017. And then obviously the Vegas situation, which I don't know what happened. But to me, the one big concern that I have about him is not that. It's about what I think is happening behind the scenes. And I think that he wants a big say in the hirings and like the front office decisions and the player decisions and stuff like that. I think he wants a bigger say than the teams are willing to give him. And that's why I think he's getting fired in these places, because he wants, sort of like how like a football coach comes in and almost gets autonomy, like Mike McCarthy wanted from the Jets when they were looking at hiring him and then decided to go with Adam Gase instead. Good job, Jets. But that's what I think was going on there. So I think Gallant, if they're willing to work with him a little bit, would be the right fit. But I don't know if I see Dolan willing to give his trusted guy in Drury and then have Drury hire a guy that's going to want to like kind of override him a little bit at times. So I don't know if Gallant's maybe the best fit, but I think he's the guy that would be the best on ice.
I'm going to just address this topic because I've had this brought up to me several times just in conversations. And does any part of you believe that Quinn's getting a raw deal? Because he went, and don't worry, John, I'm going to finish this, and I hope it's going to fire you up to close out the segment. But I'd love to see Anthony fired up sometime. That's going to be great. So Quinn lost his top scoring defenseman due to disciplinary reasons and the fight. Then he lost his MVP candidate from last season for 9 games, and they weren't any good. He lost. I mean, he's playing in probably the toughest division to make the playoffs in hockey, and they still ended up 4 games over 500, as he has see on the ticker below, and that's usually the defense for him. Personally, watching the game and the eye test, there were times where this team just wasn't ready to play. But you know what? I want you to take over this.
Me?
Yeah, go right ahead. Hammer it up. You got 60 seconds.
You're talking about excuses, and listen, some of those are valid, but you're sitting there, and people. I understand that this guy is always going to have his fans, his defenders, and I bet you there's a bunch of people that are absolutely heartbroken. Jimmy Quinn got fired. My coach.
Oh, you sound like Ryan Whitney right now.
Oh yeah, no, screw him. He can go to hell for all I care. But I mean, a lot of these Quinn defenders are probably like Terrell Owens. Oh, that's my coach. Just replace the whole quarterback thing with coach, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a joke. It's a joke because if this guy was a leader of men, one, the Tony D'Angelo incident would have never gotten above and out of the locker room. Never. A veteran coach and a veteran leadership group takes care of that. It doesn't ever get to the point that it got to. Two, David Quinn got his team smacked around in the Carolina series and didn't have a single answer. They were ragdolled around just like Artemi Panarin was by Tom Wilson. And they didn't have a single answer. They didn't put up a fight. They didn't look good at any point in that series. And Kakko was the only bright light of that series. That was it. Pathetic performance. And David Quinn, for 3 years now, has been unable to make adjustments in big games. So he's not a leader of men. He's not a good coach. He can't make the adjustments. And he gets routinely outcoached by other good coaches on a regular basis. So why do we want to keep around a guy that has flat starts for his players? And look at the 2 Islander games. The 2 Islander games were just like the Carolina game. Carolina series, I'm sorry. The same shit. They come out flat. There's no emotion. Nothing to it. No fight. So they died in the lay down like a dog and just died and keeled over. So you know what? No thanks. Goodbye. Give me an experienced veteran coach now.
And you know what? Shut up on the Islanders 4 times in the same season, regardless how good the Islanders are. Smile, Anthony. Is that at least it's still inexcusable. Can't have that happen. Can't have it happen. You also can't be shut out back-to-back games when you have your entire season on the line. That's my take, and that's the way it is. And also, one last thing before we start the Islander playoff preview is, if you're the head coach of Michigan football and you can't beat Ohio State at all, you should be and deserve to be fired, Jim Harbaugh. And it's the way it works. There are certain teams you're not allowed to lose to. Now, just and one last word before I just close this all out. Just think about this. Let's say the Rangers do go with a Gerard Gallant. Wow, the coaching in that division next season. That you're going to have Barry Trotz, Peter Laviolette, Rod Brindamore is coming back. Whoever Columbus gets and whoever Buffalo's gone. I forgot about that. Lindy Ruff is arguably the worst coach out of the bunch, and he's been coaching for 2 decades. So that's just how we think about it. So what do you think about the way the New York Rangers are set up right now? What is their future in coaching? We'll talk more about personnel and stuff like that next week, but just put it all in the comments, or hell, you can comment on us right now. I will definitely put up a comment as long as it's tasteful, or unless you're making fun of. We'll go with Anthony. All right. Moving on for everything on the New York Rangers. Let's just hide those. This week, the Islanders are going to start their playoff series versus the Pittsburgh Penguins. Or at least, did you like that video? Of course you did. So why not check out some more of our content? You can check the playlist right here or right here.
Your ideas are intriguing to me, and I wish to subscribe to your newsletter.